Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Donington Park for round 5 of the oNiD GT Team World Cup. Round 5, the penultimate round, only one round left after this, where it is Kyalami on the 18th of July. But tonight, we're in Northern England at Donington Park. My name is Cammy Sturch, and handling the camera highlights and replays is Mr. Aidan Howard.
Good evening, Cammy. Pleasure to be with you guys tonight here at my wonderful home track. Only about 20-minute drive from me from the centre of a certain East Midland city. I'm not going to reveal online. But nonetheless, a fantastic track to be having this penultimate round here of the Team Cup Championship.
Yeah, it looks like Pulse SimSport have already got the championship in the bag, leading the championship on 100 points, almost double the points count of their nearest competitor, the Dutch endurance team White, who are second with 56 points, and then it is a tie for third place between the Dutch endurance team Blue and my very own oNiD Go For The Gap Racing, and then in fourth place it is oNiD Racing proper on 36 points. And so Pulse have just got this in the bag already. They could take the night off, but they are out in force once again. Jordan Watson leading the way in qualifying, barely a third of the way through, 126.9 the time to beat at the moment, set by Watson in the Ferrari, and then Brendan Rooney hot on his heels as always in the Porsche 911. There's Aidan Carter out on the circuit now in these pinky red and white McLaren, Marlboro McLaren, slightly inspired design. Also, do you actually know what I took the reference from for the livery design?
Go on.
It's kind of based on Sonic the Hedgehog's shoe.
That's brilliant. I love it.
Because he was fast.
Oh.
There used to be a little bit of yellow trim that kind of mimics the little buckle that Sonic would have, but it just kind of dropped to red and white. So
that's fair. It's still a fantastic livery, I must admit.
It's simple to replicate onto other cars. Is the ideal thing,
like...
and it's any brand, any sponsor kind of just works well within it. And obviously, Circuit Superstars, who used to sponsor the team, the red was matched to their kind of pink on their logo, so it worked very nicely. And now, obviously, our title sponsor is Kaydan Computers, who've been a great support as Aidan Carter just slows down at the final corner.
Takes the typical wide line to get the optimum start to the lap.
Yeah, just making sure he's got plenty of space as one of the Reinars cars in the Ferrari makes their way out of the pit lane. Aidan Carter through Red Cape. We're going to follow Aidan. Gave you a tour of this Donington Park circuit, through Hollywood, up and towards the Craner curves, and then down towards the old hairpin, one of the trickiest corners on the circuit. So easy to run it out wide on the left, use plenty of curb on the right, then it is uphill. I was going to say under the bridge, but that's gone, isn't it?
It's gone. There's still a bridge on the left. It's remains of what used to be there, but we do still call it Starkey's Bridge.
Yeah, because it used to have like a little airplane on it, didn't it?
Yes, exactly.
Little blue airplane, I remember that. Anyway, past Shorts Curve, through McLean's, down towards through Coppice, and now it's the back straight towards the Fogarty S's, which takes you out onto the Grand Prix layout, which is literally just a couple extra corners and a very sharp hairpin, which Aidan loses the back end, pushing very hard.
A lot of curb there. Took a bit too much of a hard handle, and the suspension obviously didn't like it.
No, the Porsche can be a tricksy mistress and just use a little bit too much curb, and that heavy rear end just stepped out. He did very well to hold it though in a racing situation, doing very well to hold onto the car like that rather than letting it spin round. But if those tyres are still smiling, it's got plenty of space in front of them, and they'll go for another lap as Reinar's Ferrari catches up, and then out of Goddard's down the Wheatcroft straight, and that is one lap of this Donington Park Grand Prix circuit with just under 20 minutes left to go here. So
it's a lovely track nestled in the heart of the East Midlands. The only downside is you get disturbed by airplanes going over from the local East Midlands airport. You can't hear the wonderful roaring engines of the cars as they go around track sometimes. They're just drowned out by bloody planes. They're very antisocial.
Really, the planes are that low?
Yes,
'Cause I know
yeah,
the
right under the
airport
flight
is
path.
nearby, but
Yeah,
I thought
right
they'd
under the. Yeah, it only happens about once every half hour, but you are right under the flight path from East Midlands, which is East Midlands Airport, which is somewhat of a distraction sometimes. Plane spotters,
remember.
plane spotters and motorsport fans, you're both in for a treat because it's wonderful. But yeah, it's not the
Jazz
greatest.
Draycott, Jazz, you'll love it. He is a plane spotter. He loves planes. He plays on his own channel. He plays like an air traffic control simulator.
If Rob was here, he would tell us all about his community for what game is it? It's another military simulation flying thing. He'll go. He would go all nerdy on us, I bet. Yeah.
But I remember the Codemasters touring car game on the PlayStation 1, like in 96, 97, that would have planes flying over. They even put it into that.
It did indeed. Right, let's see what's happening up and down the grid. Let's check in with some of our guys down the bottom of the top 10. Kieran Sharp in particular on a faster improving lap.
Absolutely.
Could get up to 7th.
That'd be a great result for the Wagyu racing team.
Let's have a look.
Sitting a little bit further down the championship at the moment in 8th place, although that is actually 9th place because there is a tie for 3rd in the championship, and they've got only 14 points.
It's all to play for. It's literally. I know Pulse SimRacing have now got it essentially, but best of the rest fight is going to be absolutely intense.
Yeah, it's very much like Formula 1 and Verstappen. So it's like, well, how would everyone else do if Verstappen wasn't there? And this is very much, well, how's everyone else doing if Pulse SimSport weren't there? But I know that the Go for the Gap drivers are very keen to make their mark. They've been very quick, as too have been the Dutch endurance team at Paul Ricard. They were really challenging Miles Dixon in the Pulse SimSport car, really pushing them hard, and did take the lead for a while, but it was an off-track manoeuvre and they gave it back and were never able to retake that lead as Aidan Carter rounds the Melbourne hairpin.
Yeah,
just needs to get 0.2 of a second.
He is on a purple lap. Let's go jump to him. He's up on the best time by 0.8 of a second going into this last corner. So there should be a new fastest lap as he comes across the line.
That's not updated. Did he invalidate it?
Maybe. Just invalidated it.
No, I think that said last lap. It was slightly slower than his best.
That was shown as a purple
So
lap.
I think it was his purple, but Brendan Rooney's lap was faster.
Oh, that's just a bit antisocial.
So he was 0.03 of a second.
I got excited
off his last lap.
I got excited over nothing. Ugh.
I think Aidan's calling it a day on that set of tyres and returning to the garage. And here's Jordan Watson, who's been promoted into the Pole SimSport sort of a lead team to replace Jonathan Seville, who's gone off to race for Low Fuel Motorsport now.
Oh, wow.
Not part of this current series, but have been part of other oNiD series.
A marginal improvement there.
Ginettas.
A marginal improvement there for Jordan Watson. 126.7. And now a clear, almost clear 0.3 of a second for Aidan Carter and his team to find out if they go for the gap. But that's just Pulse SimSport stamping their authority on this series. Or even wrapped it up, still here to have some fun.
Yeah, well, it's a high mantle for Pulse SimSport. You know, they are championship leaders. This is our first GT Teams Championship, but you could say they're reigning champions because they've won our other GT3 championships as well. And anything less than domination would be disappointing for them. And it is up to other teams to just get good and get better and threaten them. And I suppose there is a hope where, because Jonathan Seville has left the team, maybe there's a hope that a few other drivers will feel that whilst Jordan Watson is phenomenally talented, they might feel he's a little bit closer to their sort of ability, whereas Jonathan Seville was this alien that could pull 0.8 on you in qualifying and you just didn't know where it came from. Whereas Carter and Rooney, you know, they're only a couple tenths off, so it's easy to imagine that they could get pole position, especially as the track is only fast at the moment and it's not yet optimum.
Have you seen what's happened? I know it won't take effect for this session, but these drivers are very lucky because in 30 minutes there is rain forecast. But thankfully only got about 14.5 minutes left, so hopefully the rain will hold off until the end of the session.
Yeah, I just think they don't want to be caught off guard if because obviously in 10 minutes it will still be dry, but imagine if it started spitting in the last few minutes, it could dash any chances of somebody's pole lap.
No.
And that's why they're all trying to get their laps in now.
Yeah, no, exactly. We'll just jump into the YouTube chat and say hi to everyone. We've got some wonderful messages. But Badim Happy Bovic and Miles Dixon, Ben22 Racing, Mr. Greggles, that's an oNiD admin, I can't tell who that is. But good evening to you all, it is a pleasure to have you. Johnny, Miles Dixon, Johnny back next week as I'm away. I'm not sure.
Oh.
What is that in reference to, may I ask? Am I missing a piece of the puzzle? And also, Peter
Johnny will be taking over Miles' seat at the last round because Miles won't. I'm guessing Miles is not going to be able to take part, and he's begged Johnny Staville to come back and please race for me one more time.
Please.
I'll give you Chris.
Let's try and find
and that's obviously sealed the deal. As I have noticed, Pole SimSport have extended their lead at the top of the table, as that was one of the oNiD GT4. I think it was Trinket de Tass, who's gone madly towards the crowd off the grass. Yeah, going rally driving there, Trinket de Tass. But yeah, Pole SimSport now got a 3 tenths advantage over oNiD Go for the Gap Racing.
Well,
oNiD Go for the Gap Racing have fallen down the championship standings because they had that driver swap issue at the Paul Ricard circuit, which forced them to retire and take away Nilpois. Miles Dixon says Johnny was meant to be racing tonight, but he's working. How selfish of him, hey, Miles?
How very rude. Well, as with these oNiD qualifying sessions, the first half, I just actually realised it's actually dedicated for the GT3 cars. So the GT3 drivers have done their lap times. So we can now say safely that Jordan Watson's on pole, on Carter, Kingston, Jongan, Thorpe and Sharp, Timex, Temenga, Prescott and dear Lord, Wessels in 10th there. Names are again my failure of pronouncing, and words make no sense for me sometimes, like sentences I'm trying to say. Anyway, GT4s now get to entertain us with their qualifying laps, and we did see Trinket de Tass off turning his Janetta into a glorified lawnmower, but we'll see what these guys can do. The track is now theirs.
Yeah, and if the track goes to optimum now, it really won't change anything, because obviously the GT4s will get a little bit closer, but it won't be that difference where if it was rain and then dry optimum, and then you get GT4s mixing it with GT3s with similar lap times. As the lap times start to come onto the board now, QRT Esports with Jan Willem van der Steeg top of par at the moment with 135.8. Then it is Field, Berry, Gregory, our Lord and Saviour Johnny Ashley, as we've got another car going rally driving back there. Then it's Triathlon Holmes, Trinket de Tass, not yet got a time on the board. It'll be interesting to see if the track does go optimum during this portion of the session, but possibly not, because there's not many cars out on track, and the track condition depends on sort of temperature and how many cars are out putting rubber down, doesn't it?
It does. 21 and track temperature, 21 air temperature. We just noted, something of note, that it's now got dark enough for headlights to come on, so the weather and the time of day is of an evening, so we don't think we're going to see any increase in temperature per se, so that might hinder the progress of the rubbering into the track.
No, it's morning.
Is it morning?
It says 7:19 a.m.
Oh, you're on top of this more than I am, Jesus.
It was a 50-50 and you backed the wrong one.
Oh. God damn it.
As Van Steeg rounds the Melbourne hairpin, Izzy setting purples at the moment. His nearest competitor's half a second slower, lining up, but it is AMG front row for GT4 at the moment. You might even get a little toe from the McLaren.
This will be an improvement. We'll just wait for it to come across the line. It is a 1:35.1.
Badim Habibovic says, if one of the Chevys doesn't get pole, I will call the IRS. The IRS doesn't have any power in the UK, Badim, so
sorry,
that's
Badim.
the Inland Revenue Service, I think. Basically the American tax man.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Now Brendan's correcting you as well, saying it's AM.
Damn it, it's AM. I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's a state of sunrise or sunset. Okay, I don't know which one. Anyway.
Brendan, what does AM stand for?
I actually don't know what AM and PM stands for.
I think the P is post, but I can't remember the rest.
What?
As in post-mortem, you know, it means after, but PM is like post-morn, something that begins morning.
After
Post-morning, but it's Latin. I'm pretty sure it is Latin.
Oh God, you're asking a dyslexic boy, a dyslexic guy to ask. You're asking a dyslexic guy who can't even form sentences at the minute to try and speak Italic. Wow. Italic? Not Italic.
No, Latin.
Latin. There you go. I can't even form sentences.
You can't speak Italic unless you're or Italic rather. You know, maybe if you start leaning over and you're at a 45-degree angle and speak, maybe that's
maybe that's Italic. Yeah, I'm trying to do that now. It's no different.
They're called Italics because they're from Italy.
Yeah, the Italians always do their own thing, don't they?
Yes, even on the racetrack, but there's not many. There's some Ferraris, there's a few Ferraris, but I don't think we have any Italian drivers in this series, actually.
I don't think so.
It's sorely lacking. Here's Trinket to Tass, who's got a lap on the board finally, 135.4, good enough for the front row of the GT4 club in the Ginetta. The Ginetta should do. Oh, he's off the track.
Nope, that's glorified lawn mowing. Now that's
he's blown it. Back
to the pits he goes. So he'll try and get back out on track rather sharpishly, just under 7.5 minutes to go.
That is a Marlboro-inspired theme if I ever saw one. There's something off on the track there.
I think
something's being knocked over.
Yeah, it looks like maybe just like a brake sign or something like that. Potentially.
Yeah, from the outside of the Carl Fogarty S's.
Keep an eye on that. It's not going to be a distraction. All out Fops coming into the chat. That's Trinket there saying, I went to visit the old bridge. Yeah, Starkey said hi over at Starkey's Bridge.
And hello everyone, by the way. Hello Patty Alanak and Badham and Miles Dixon and Gregums and Ben22 Racing. Of course, as well, the livery designed. Go to Bet. Although Ben's recently been pretty busy. He's turning down work. I gave him some work. Like somebody came to me for work and I was like, I don't really do liveries. I'll point you in Ben's direction. Ben's like, I'm far too busy. I'm turning down work. So it's all going very well for Ben.
It is, very much so. There's all out Fops giving us the AM/PM answer. Ante-meridium and post-meridium.
Yep, he's absolutely right. I mean, he's googled it, but he is absolutely right.
Funny
meridian being like the meridian line of, I think it's related to GMT. So, yeah.
Brendan Rooney saying it's a chicane barrier that's off the track at chicane. So the actual the barrier that's in the middle part of the end of the chicane has been knocked off. We'll briefly see it as we follow Nathan Berry. And yeah, that's definitely the barrier. So someone's
over 5 minutes left.
So someone's had
Berry
that
get
barrier.
back to the front row.
We'll see, he's not on a lap at the minute, although Jan Willem van der Steg is on a lap. No, it's just started a lap, so I'm not going to read into that very purple lap time. This is literally just started.
Now, guaranteed to choke Motorsport, they are 9th currently in the standings, 24 points. Blurred Vision Racing leads the GT4 Championship on 60 points, but it is a much closer battle than the GT3 Championship because only 1 point behind is QRT Esports 2, and just 1 point behind them is oNiD Racing, and then in 4th place with 33 points is Delta Online Racing, and that is the Chevy Camaro GT4 as we follow young Willem van der Steeg in the QRT Esports AMG Mercedes, which is, I've found personally, I think, quite an understeery beast.
Haven't really paid, I'm not gonna lie, I really should pay more attention and maybe try driving these GT4 cars. They do look like a lot of fun now, a lot less downforce. but all are still reasonably the same, or maybe just a little bit less performance than the GT3s.
Oh, but if you ever get in a GT4 car in real life, it's incredible how much road holding power they have, and it really makes the game, well, the simulator. The ACC can't portray the amount of grip these cars have because you're comparing them to the GT3 in your head. It's like, they just feel slower and less grip. But you're getting one of these cars in real life. It's like, my good. Then your point of reference is your road car.
Yeah.
And then the GT4 feels like a little rocket.
Yeah. Not surprised at all. It's
and that was on a, that was a slowish lap because it was just a showing off day for corporate sponsors. Here's Matt Royal of Royal Esports. Royal Sim Sports are 8th in the championship at the moment. One of only 2 Alpine A10 teams, although Wacker Racing has left the championship, although they were only in 13th out of 14 teams entered. And is Royal going to be held up a little bit by BMW just in front? That's Anderson, and that is who is in 14th place in the championship. SRBJ Sissif Racing.
Yeah, Matt Royal, I think, didn't make it to the line there, backed off, and promptly returned to the pit lane. He said about the Chevy, let's give them a bit of airtime, shall we? The car that's only supposed to turn in one direction, but somehow can turn left and right.
Yep, 4th place in the championship, the Chevy Camaro, with big, honking, huge V8. And the Camaro, this is how you do a modernised classic. Because Ford's Puma is just an SUV, and Ford's Capri that they announced is just an SUV. I don't know why they do it.
Money. Anyway.
Yeah, but then the new Camaro is going to be an electric SUV. So unfortunately, this classic muscle car is just going to become another SUV.
That's a disappointment.
Every car is going to become an SUV. So we'll have a GT. I think in 10 years' time we'll have a GT3 championship that is all SUVs because manufacturers just don't want to produce saloons, sedans, coupes, and fastbacks and cabriolets anymore.
No,
they just want to produce SUVs. So it'll be like an Audi Q8 GT3. Ferrari will have to build an SUV. Lamborghini already do one. Porsche have their Cayenne. So you'll have a Porsche Cayenne GT3.
Jag have been ready to do it with their E-Pace.
Yeah, so you'll have a Jaguar I-Pace or E-Pace, whether it's electric or not. GT3. Oh, how horrible would that be, having an SUV GT series?
There is already the Jaguar E-Pace do support, were supporting the Formula E at one point.
They were. Although I don't recall it being particularly popular.
I mean, yeah, no. Oh,
I know some talented drivers were in it. Yeah, Ed Holm pushing very hard and catches that slide. And I know there's some talented drivers in it, but I don't know how many people went out and bought an I-Pace because they saw it racing.
No, probably no idea, sadly. Well, the GT4...
F-Pace.
F-Pace, E-Pace, F-Pace. Yeah, the big bulky thing that wanted.
They're not memorable names, are they?
No, the big bulky thing that wanted to be a race car, but is actually a people carrier. Oh, I see a couple of spots of rain. That is rain now. We have rain falling.
Oh yeah, it's starting to spit. Badem says, "Please no SUV. We need fun cars." Yeah, but SUVs make them more profit.
Yeah, exactly. It's all they're focused on now.
There's a Yaris Yaris crossover SUV car.
Oh, why?
That's a tiny little super mini. As Ben Holmes comes across the line, stays 23rd. He'll get this one more lap, but the car just behind, I think that was Sherlock, won't get another lap. No, just trying to check what car that was. I didn't quite see, but that is qualifying over. Will the rain stick around for the race? Or is it going to throw that curveball where it's dry and then starts to rain as soon as the green flag comes out after all the drivers have put dry tyres on?
So 1 hour race, I can confirm to you that in 30 minutes time we are expecting for the weather to change to light rain.
And I know a few drivers will be really smiling at the prospect of some changeable weather. It can really mix things up. Only go for the gap. Got a clear view down to the first corner. They can really prep and Pole SimSport. Pole SimSport have already won the championship. They've got that in the bag. So, will they be fighting hard for the lead, or will they think, hey, we can afford to finish second? It doesn't matter now.
I mean,
Got a feeling they know that if they have an accident, if they get crashed off the track, they know it doesn't affect their championship, but it does affect the championships of Go For Get Racing and the 2 Dutch endurance teams.
did Verstappen ever stop trying to win races when he got the championship with races to go?
No, but he's paid millions, and these drivers are given bag crisps. They're paid 10p in a kiss.
We're giving back a crisp. That's mine. I'm outraged.
No, they get 10p in a kiss.
Oh, you can keep the kiss. It's fine, but I'll take the 10p. Could use that at tuck shop.
Inflation, my friend. You can't buy anything for 10p in a tuck shop anymore.
No.
Delta Live TV. The GR Yaris Cross is fast. I wanted the Corolla GR, and then got told, nope, they're not releasing that in the UK.
Nope. No. Can't have
There's
it.
GR Yaris in the UK, but they won't. Even though there's a touring car Corolla that is basically the GR Corolla, they won't release it in the UK.
How antisocial. Yeah. Just typical manufacturers things.
If you like crisps in the chat, tell us your favourite flavour.
Oh, I'm telling Johnny tomorrow, you get crisps. I'm telling Johnny tomorrow, says Mercy Caller. You can tell Johnny, but I don't think he will do anything about it. I've got
Just under a minute until we get started with the formation lap. Apparently BMW is the ultimate driving machine, not if they keep putting a big sort of Angry Birds pig faces on the front of their cars.
Oh dear.
Delta Live says they have the GR Sport Corolla. I'm guessing you're not in the UK. But is GR Sport the same as GR? Like, is that the one that's very, very fast? And expensive. The GR Yaris is very expensive, isn't it? Like, compared to Fiesta STs and Corsa VXRs, other hot hatches, the Yaris is expensive because it's got a bit of a waiting list on it. Mercy Cooler likes prawn cocktail.
Oh, chili heatwave as well. Oh,
I always like some salt and vinegar Pringles. I always know if I've got like dead skin on my lip, they'll just burn it off. The salt and vinegar are just like, yeah, it's like, oh, it's gone.
I do miss Monster Munch.
They're still around.
I know, but I just haven't been able to get I haven't seen it. I haven't seen him anywhere.
GR Sport is just the trim option, whereas GR is the so that's like ST and ST line. So if you get an ST Ford, it's the fast Ford, and if you can't quite afford the ST's insurance, you have to buy like the ST line. As Watson is going to be first in the car, Pole SimSport. Carter is going to be first in the car for Go For Gap. Double sevens up on the second row. A great qualifying from the double sevens as they are 9th in the championship. So really batting above their weight. And then you've got Jeroen Jongen, of course, one of the Dutch endurance teams. Although, for the life of me, trying to work out which Dutch endurance team he's driving for. It's a quick run through. White, thank you very much. And so I wonder if they'll be working together with the Dutch endurance team Blue. I wonder if there be any. I would say it's against the spirit of the event for teams to work with each other. It would be like AlphaTauri just moving over and allowing Red Bull to pass, and then holding up somebody else. You know, they can work as teams, but not into teams.
Yeah,
there is
peculiar, isn't it?
There is Pole SimSport AM, who are 5th in the championship, starting on the 4th row of the grid. Yannick Fimech starting for them in the 54 Ferrari, just in front of Prescott and Vessels. As they head down towards the Melbourne hairpin. the 180-degree right-hander downhill, round the hairpin, and then straight back uphill as they start getting into formation side by side for the penultimate round of the oNiD GT Team World Cup. The championship may already be won, but they are fighting for the honour of the second step, and oNiD go for the gap rating. I've got it all to do after that non-finish at Paul Ricard, and every finish counts in this championship. There are no drop rounds.
Quick update on Riverport before we get going. 10 minutes until rain.
10 minutes, so that's quickly changed. So we'll find out when drivers will come in and make their changes, but we're about to go racing here at Donington Park. Green, green, green. Penalty immediately for car 54. That's Dimech from the Pulse Sim Sport AM team. Go for the gap, going to try and run it around the outside. There's no space there.
Oh.
And we've got contact. That's Wagyu Racing, who's been collected. Wagyu Racing have been collected by McLaren, and there's big, and now just drivers just ramming into each other. They can see there's been an accident ahead of them, but none of them are just easing off the gas. And I think the careful, patient drivers are going to win out massively here. Those who took it slow because they could see what's going on up ahead. Penalties being dished out left, right and centre, but the leaders are away. It is Jordan Watson leading from Aidan Carter, Jeroen Jongen, Kingston, Dimech with that 5-second penalty now. Prescott, Temenga, Guthrie, Wood, Lewin and Kuthep in GT3. Several GT3 drivers have fallen down the order because of that first lap collision. General Scrub, Thorpe, Audsley and Sharp. The penalties are racking up. Van der Steeg, 15 seconds. Page, 10 seconds. The
Oh, I think we just lost Cammy there for a second, so just jump in with the commentary. Aidan Carter kind of almost losing out a bit of time there to
a
Watson.
replay there, Aidan? It's suddenly froze on me.
Oh, there you go, you're back. Hello, we lost you for a minute, Cammy. Are you still there?
Oh, you lost me for a minute. Yeah, I
Yes.
think my internet seems to
Had a little bit
cut
of
out for a few. Yeah, my internet seems to cut out for a few seconds, and Discord really struggles getting it back. But yeah, Watson leading onto the second lap down through the Craner curves. Aidan Carter trying to keep pace and keep that Lamborghini behind. And in the next 10 minutes, rain is expected, so we'll start seeing the wipers going. Jeroen Jongen for the Dutch Endurance Team White really starting to pressure and really starting to find a way to try and get past that go for the gap car. And then it is Kingston for the double sevens. Again, really punching above their weight and really starting to press Jeroen Jongen as well. Are we going to see these three fighting for second whilst Pulse Simsport once again are just allowed to drive off into the distance? Although Jongen might feel he's being held up a little bit because we know the Dutch Endurance Team have taken the fight to Pulse Simsport before, but given that the Porsche has got such a light front end and the engine is right over the back wheels, it could take the Porsche just a couple laps just to get those front tyres fired up.
Absolutely. Well, it's an interesting three-way battle for PT, and definitely John Watson way ahead at this point, getting a gap of 1.3 seconds after 2 laps, leaving these guys to sort themselves out. Nothing else happening as of this battle right now. We do have cars fighting up and down the field. An interesting battle developing for P9 and P10 from the two Mercedes. Well, not Mercedes, should I say? I was about to say McLaren Mercedes. That's incredibly incorrect. Two McLarens there, 9th and 10th, about 0.4 of a second gap. P5 has picked up a 5-second penalty, most notably, so they'll have to serve that within their next pit stop, whatever that will be, presumably for the weather change, if it comes down heavy enough to warrant it. But as it stands right now, Watson checking out from the rest of the drivers.
Just need to make a quick correction as well. Some of those penalties, of course, are success penalties based on the previous round of the championship that we weren't able to stream.
Understood.
But yeah, winners, when you win, you get a 15-second penalty applied to your pit stop in the next race. If you're second, 10 seconds. If you're third, 5 seconds. And going by that, it looks like Pulse Simsport, Go for the Get Racing and Dutch Endurance Team didn't have a great race last week because none of them have penalties. So they just the penalty started quickly racking up straight after that accident, and just naturally I'm starting to think, oh, but it looks like Carter's got those front tyres heated up and up to pressure a little bit, because he's starting to edge away now from the Dutch endurance team, and that Lamborghini's having to go on the defensive to keep the double sevens behind. And there is the second of the Pole Sim Sport teams just in the background. Can they get some ground up and start to maybe put pressure on these three and just help out Watson a little bit? They can work together.
Might be
down through the trainer curves.
It might be the case that they do catch up and play the teammate card of, you know, Red Bull, AlphaTauri kind of. Oh, well, we'll help you out. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Although they're going to be renamed, and the big news today, of course, is Daniel Ricciardo will be racing for AlphaTauri at the Hungarian Grand Prix this year. I mean, it's the next race. It's pretty immediate. Nick de Vries out, sadly, and Daniel Ricciardo in. But it is Jongen we're focused on at the moment, who's now having to defend a little bit from Kingston. Carter building up that gap and is setting off after Watson. It's just under 2 seconds from Watson to Carter, so we're going to have to see what happens to that gap when they come over the start-finish line and when they go over the next sectors, to see if Aiden can start to bring that gap down a little bit. Temenga for Reinhardt Motorsport has fallen way back. Yeah. There is a big gap in front of Thimech and behind Thimech. So I think that was largely brought on by that incident that took out Wagyu Racing.
Quite probably, sadly. Massive incident on turn 1, which I'm sure the stewards will be receiving multiple reports from the drivers, and that will keep them busy for the next week, I am sure.
I did get to meet Nick de Vries at Aston Martin. Very nice guy. It was only a brief chat and a handshake, and sort of nice to meet you, and introducing myself. And yeah, I had to keep it quiet at the time, because if I had said anything on Twitter that I met Nick de Vries in Aston Martin, it would have launched a whole bunch of "Is de Vries going to Aston Martin?" sort of rumours. So I was kind of expected to keep that quiet, because at the time he hadn't had that drive for Williams.
Yeah, of course.
And yeah, Carter is definitely checking out from Jongen. Jongen had to attack in those first laps where the Porsche hadn't had the time to get those front tyres warmed up. But like Lando, who had to defend on the hards, Carter was able to defend on cold front tyres until they warmed up, and is bringing down the gap, actually. That is oh! Kingston having a look, ducks back in down towards the Melbourne hairpin. But Watson is lost 0.3 of a second to Carter on that last lap. So there's only been a couple occasions where Pole Sim Sport's supremacy has been threatened. Once at Paul Ricard. Could this be the second occasion where it happens?
Potentially. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. There is going to go down a little bit, down to the 10th, 11th and 12th. There's a battle brewing here, and that's a move from General Scrub there on Ridvan. And that is P11 done and dusted for now. But these guys getting into a little bit of fisticuffs with the trying to get into the top 10 positions.
Yeah, it's very much a McLaren-centric fight down there. Wood in 8th in the McLaren, then it is Lowen, Scrub, Kirchhoff and Thorpe and Audsley all in McLarens. And then it is Ferraris at the front, apart from the Porsche of Carter and the Lamborghini of Jongen, who are spoiling that party. And it was a McLaren that instigated the incident in the first corner, but I don't know which McLaren it was. I have a feeling it could have been Thorpe that went into the side of Wagyu Racing.
Everything happened so quickly there. It just turned into an absolute calamity, and everyone, I think, will be wanting to know how in the world that happened.
And that gap between Watson and Carter is coming down a little bit further. It's come down another 10th.
It is. Let's jump back with Kingston, who's managed to get the inside run on a Jongen here, and this might be move done as they go down into the braking zone for turn 1.
He's going to have to try and do it round the outside. Jongen has the inside line, and all he has to do is slow down and hold it. He'll compromise his own speed and line, just as Lando compromised his speed going into Copse Corner. try to defend from Hamilton. But yeah, Jongen holds on to that position, but is obviously sacrificing time and speed and losing ground to Carter, who's just taken off. But it looks like Watson has extended the gap a little bit again to Carter. It's back up to about 1.8, 1.9 seconds. So either Carter had a bad lap or Watson's just put his foot down and had a little bit more up his sleeve.
Cammy, I can see rain falling. The wipers are on.
The wipers are on, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody's in between. How quickly can they respond? Can they keep it on the track? A few of these drivers are little wet weather masters.
2 seconds, we had a spinner. Spencer in the Audi has had an off down. That is at just after the going back uphill to the back straight after the bridge section. So that was dropped all the way down to 14th. Yeah, Coppis, thank you. All the way down to 14th.
They've seen the wind, they've seen the rain coming and immediately binned it. So that is Sim Racing Brotherhood. The rest of the Brotherhood might not be very happy about that.
No.
I know when I'm a driver waiting for my turn to drive, it's a bit gutting when you see the driver before you just make a mess of it. And you're like, oh, well, my race is ruined before I even get in the car.
Absolutely.
But the gap between the leading pair has come down again. That is back down to 1.4 seconds. So if Watson did put his foot down, Carter has responded.
Absolutely.
And
we'll just stick
back up to 1.8. That is yo-yoing.
It is yo-yoing, it's very much so. For now they're going to hold station. This battle here for P12 and P11. It's Kieran Sharp getting the better of Ridvan, who's dropping down the order sadly.
Yeah, Wagyu Racing trying to... I know it says Le Mans Porsche 1998 GT1, but that's the livery. Wagyu Racing is the team name. They're trying to come back up through the field, obviously after being taken out at turn 1. No fault of their own. And I'm not seeing success penalties for the GT3 cars. I'm only seeing Fimech with a 5-second success penalty. So where are the other success penalties?
There has been a couple of pit stops, so... They might have already been served.
No, I don't think. No, the pit window's not open yet.
Ooh.
None of the GT3 cars have had pit stops yet. The GT4 lead though is close. Van der Steeg and Tass are less than a second apart from each other, but Tass has the advantage that they have no success penalty, and Van der Steeg has a 15-second success penalty, and you can see just how close they are on track. AMG versus Ginetta, German engineering versus British engineering, which has an American Ford engine in it.
Jordan Watson.
V8 versus V6.
I do apologise to interrupt you. Jordan Watson, even a 15-second time penalty.
That's a success penalty then.
That's a success. That is fantastic because Sebastian Rodriguez has subscribed to the channel. Thank you very much, Sebastian. Right, track is now greasy. That's the official readout.
So, with driver, they generally do half the race each, 30 minutes, but we're only 13 minutes barely into this race.
Carter's gone!
And that's Carter off the track. My beloved Aiden Carter, my beloved oNiD Go for the Gap Racing. Has the rain just become a bit too much to cope with on those dry slicks? Is Carter now going to have to think, well, I need to come into the pits, change drivers, because I can't keep going on dry tyres on a soaked circuit. It is now damp. It's just gone from greasy to damp.
Rain intensity will up in 10 minutes and again in a further 30 minutes.
So that has pushed Carter down to 4th place.
Not going to be good for him. He's going to be very annoyed at that.
Be a very short stint for Carter. If they want to do a one-stop race, that will be the end of his session. But Carter stays out. Carter thinks they can hold on to it for a little bit longer.
On a damp track, the game will be yelling at these drivers, saying that the wet tyres will be absolutely the optimum choice here. But you've got to bear in mind, in pit now, they're not going to oblige their mandatory pit stop. They can pit by all means, but they will have to pit again within the pit window to oblige the mandatory pit stop. Do have a GT3 car in as Tamenga has to take avoiding action there to get around Yannick there. The massive moment going through the old hairpin past the Starkey Bridge, but keeps hold of the car but loses position because of it.
Yes, Kurtzep in the pits in 15th place. Looks like they might be the first to blink and get some wet weather tyres on, but it is really coming down now.
Yeah, it is. You can see that there are puddles and wet lines forming on the track.
Oh, and Simech has a little wiggle going. It's struggling to get the car slowed down into the fog TS's.
The cars are not liking slick tyres on what is a moisturised track, let's say.
As Carter is just clearing some traffic now, it's still very close between GT4s, but Tass is leading with Van der Steeg now in second. As Simech struggling to get it slowed down. It's going to be very tricky through the Craner curves, especially. You put so much load on the outer tyres. Van der Steeg going off onto the grass a tiny bit, pushing hard, and just the speed they took through that corner in the lap before, not good enough for the lap afterwards as the grip is just ebbing away. Kurtzef has a drive-through penalty now. I wonder if
speeding in the pit lane, that was.
Speeding, yeah.
So not only do they have to come into the pits to serve the drive-through, they have to come back into the pits again to do their mandatory pit stops. So that's going to be race over for them, pretty much.
Johnny Ashley in third place in third place in the GT4 class, and though he likes the sort of weather, will be able to catch the leaders as Marek Teisel has had a little off. It was too bad.
It's all right. He had a little bit of an adventure, let's say. I think so. He'll get back on track and get it going again in that McLaren GT4.
Drivers are staying out. I think they want to. They're used to doing 30 minutes, and maybe it feels like, well, I'm not putting in my fair share if I come into the pits only after 15 minutes. But we're over 15 minutes into the race now, and these cars need. I think the first people to blink and put wet weather tyres on could make up a lot of ground. As Prescott is struggling to get it slowed down, I think it's going to go back into the Tango racing car.
They were about to have a tango. Yeah, anyway, that's a bad joke. I'm sorry.
You did rather butcher that.
I did. I literally took the. Yeah. You were saying.
11 laps completed. Watson still leading. Jongen has inherited that second place, but there is a 6-second gap now, and it is Kingston and Carter. It'd be interesting to see if Carter is gaining ground on Kingston or losing it, depending if they picked up damage. I don't think they did. I don't think they hit anything when they went off.
No, I think it was just more of an embarrassing, oh look, there's grass over there, let's go over there.
But I know if I was sort of manager on the pit wall, I'd be screaming at my drivers to come in and get wet weather tyres on.
But indeed, as Ben has said in the chat, there is absolutely a pit window they need to do. Yannick having an off there, the old hairpin.
It started raining so soon, I'm almost thinking, would it be quicker to pit in than to tiptoe around on dries?
Rain is going to intensify any minute now, pretty much, so we need to keep an eye on that weather. Damp track as it stands, but I'm fully anticipating it going to full wet in a minute.
They're not there. The pit window doesn't open for just under 10 minutes, I think. But if you've got to tiptoe around on dry tyres on a wet track for 20-25 minutes, I'd almost be tempted just to slap some wet tyres on as soon as you can and make up that time by having grip.
Turn the traction control up on these cars and they can do damp. And I'm not recommending it's the best of ideas, but in a scenario like this, it's doable, but not
how
favourable.
Many people are keeping it on the track. Actually, we've only had 2 offs. And, big pain for me that it was my beloved only good for Gab.
Yes, bless you. It's as I said, it's not the most favourable situation to be in, but if you can make it work, you can gain time. But it's just a debate you have to have with yourself. As Kieran Sharp gets very twitchy.
Thorpe has picked up a 15-second penalty.
Ooh, Thorpe, what have you done, you naughty goose?
Just appeared now as Kieran Sharp's just come right up to the back of the Tango car that's being inadvertently held up by the GT4 Ginetta. That is Johnny Ashley. And Wagyu Racing going to take advantage of that and breeze past Dango and up the inside of the GT4. And the GT4 is going to get between them and the Tango Racing. So that's fallen into Sharp's lap very nicely.
Indeed it has. He'll be running for the hills with that, and he's going to use it, hopefully use that advantage to keep ahead of Mr. Wood. Just
TS's once again.
Seeing a couple more penalties pop up. We did have a penalty for car number 25, I believe, causing collision. We do have...
That probably would be a turn 1 incident.
Possibly, indeed. We do have live stewards on tonight. So we are going to see penalties pop up here, there and everywhere if there are incidents happening.
Kieran Sharp going very well in these conditions, isn't he?
He is though, that's the thing. The Porsche does like, well I say like, it can do mixed weather conditions on slick tyres. It is very adaptable, let's say, especially the new Porsche. I would never want to do it willingly, but as I said, in the situation that arises that we find ourselves in, I think they're comfortable enough to keep going until the track does get a bit more wetter.
To see how quick, because Kingston is very close behind Yongan. That is less than a second. That is the fight for second and third, and Carter is 8.5 seconds back after they're off. And it is still Temenga and Prescott.
General Scrub has shown has been in the collision. Keep an eye on that. Trinket de Tasso. Oh, that's a move. That's a move for position, but that's a GT3 getting past. Got excited there. Thought that might be the change for the lead, but no, that just pinged up as a car overtaking the position.
I think that is Lowen.
That is indeed Lowen making the move. I'm thoroughly disappointed.
Carter going past Van der Sieg, just the GT3s putting a lap on the GT4s now.
They are indeed, and not much happening with the GT4. There's a couple of battles further down in the mid-pack between 19th and 18th with Royal and Holmes. How is that Chevy in 4th place in class? That's an achievement in on itself, really. That big bulky car.
I wonder if less power, these GT4s might be a little bit easier to handle than the GT3s that have got so much power on tap that it would be easier to spin the wheels up in the wet weather with these slicks on.
Quite probably. It might be going to their advantage. Weather report in 10 minutes is staying 10 minutes plus heavier rain. We have waited 10 minutes, not come yet, but in 30 minutes it is showing as heavy rain. So with about 9 or 8 minutes left of the race, we are going to hopefully see, I say hopefully, this is ACC of ever-changing weather conditions, it could go to dry, but as it stands, it is forecast in 30 minutes time to have heavy rain.
Now, if only there was a team out there that was, because I called it at the beginning of the race, what team was going to be brave enough to put wets on knowing that rain was coming and just deal with the pain of the dry track for 10 minutes to enjoy 20 minutes of wet weather tyres on a wet track. But I don't think anyone was brave enough to do it. I think they all thought, no, rain is half an hour away, but I had a feeling it was going to be sooner than that.
Yeah, likewise.
It's easy when you're not in the racing seat. Whether I made the choice if I was racing, I'm not sure. As Prescott trying to go around the outside of the GT4 Camaro.
Very gingerly, I must add.
There's Wagyu Racing's Kieran Sharp. I think they're catching actually. Kieran Sharp is the ringer. And there's a very nice livery on that Wagyu Racing, of course.
It is indeed. Let's quickly jump down to Andy Thorpe, who's getting into a battle here for P10. 15 seconds. Ooh, that is fantastic. Charlie Chibbles smashes that subscribe button. Thank you very much, good sir. Welcome to the stream. Right, everything's calmed down a little bit now, and the pit window will open. It's 35 minutes, I do. Oh, no, there it is. Pit window is now open.
Is losing time to Kingston. that gap's opened up by another 2 seconds. But I think Jongen is closing up on Watson. I think that was an 8-second gap, and I think it's come down to 6.6. Jongen just carrying Kingston along behind. They're not fighting with each other at the moment.
Sorry
They're carrying along each other as the pit window opens. Yes, and Watson straight into the pits. It was luckily the pit window opened in time for him to come in and not sort of have to do that extra lap.
Jongen in as well. There's another car pitting. Leon Wessels as well in the pit lane. So we're going to see cars coming. Aiden Carter's also elected to take to the pits as well. So I reckon these will be changes for drivers and onto a certain wet tyre. Yeah,
cars will be sort of glad to get out of that car, having to deal with dry tyres on a soaking wet track. It is unfortunate to have that spin. Like nobody else, we haven't seen too many other people have any big spins. It's, there's Wagyu Racing coming in their Porsche 911, and they'll be taking fuel, they'll be taking tyres, and there's a minimum amount of time you have to spend in the pits if you change your driver anyway, so I expect all the cars will come out in the order they entered. There's not really going to be any undercuts or anything.
Interesting, Kingston stayed out, has inherited the lead, still on the dry tyre, presumably.
That is crazy.
So,
I can't imagine they'll win out, because any lap that the leaders do on wet weather tyres are going to be quicker than what Kingston can do on dries, unless Kingston just wanted to lead the race for a lap.
Just for the glory of it. So we'll see what Kingston does. We'll stick with him for a moment.
Potter is marked as pitted with a green tag. Watson came in before, but it's still yellow. Jongen has a green tag, but Watson doesn't. What's going on? What? They've not changed driver. They've pitted. Watson's still at the wheel. Watson hasn't changed with his teammate, so their pit stop has not counted. That could throw the victory for Pole Sim Sport. They could have thrown the victory away by not changing driver.
Oh boy.
Have Pole Sim Sport snatched defeat from the jaws of victory here at a sodden wet and they're off the track as well. Oh, they've managed to hold it.
I wonder if they've not set their pit strategy correctly and are now realising that, and Jordan's trying to do it all at once and go back into the pits again.
I wonder, Jordan Watson, Pole Sim Sport, down in 5th position. Of course, there's a couple cars ahead that are pitting now. But we'll see if he peels off left, then we're going to see, yes, they must have had an error where they couldn't get the driver swap to work, and they're having to come, or whether they forgot it, but they're coming in again. And of course, there's a minimum time for pit stops when you're doing a driver change. So
someone's done
he could take a new set of tyres again and get extra new tyres. But yeah, this is adding so much time to their race that this could be the first time in a long time that we're not going to see a Pole Sim Sport car on the podium. So Danny Van Oom, who inherits the lead now from Jongen, who came in 2nd place. Dutch Endurance Team White lead at Donington Park. It is Ferris for 777 in 2nd place, and Rooney, who is 12 seconds back with a lot of work to do, in 3rd.
Did they have... Let's see if that driver change has worked. I believe it has. Jay Watson...
It's gone green, so we'll update.
Miles Dixon, I reckon they just...
Miles Dixon?
Miles Dixon is in now in the Pole Sim Sport car, indeed. I reckon there was a bit of a calamitous event where the driver change was not pre-selected in this pit strategy, or something just went wrong. They've had to pit again. But down in 9th, there'll be a comeback drive for them to charge back up to the top position. They've only got 31.5 minutes to do it, though.
I mean, they are safe in the knowledge that they've got championship in hand. And I know they had a time penalty, actually, so they would have come out behind the others. But the fact that they forgot to change driver in that team, very, very painful.
Gonna stop you for a minute. I apologise. Trinket right on the tail of Van der Steeg for the GT4 race lead. Janetta versus Mercedes-Benz.
Although it's almost a moot point. Tatas doesn't need to make a move because he's going to inherit the lead because Van der Steeg has to sit there for 15 seconds with the success penalty. So Tatas could take it easy and not risk it as he gets a little slide on out of office.
If I am well enough to know Trinket Tatas, I'm sure I would know him well enough that he will want to go and take that on the track and not let the time penalty take it for him. I think
maybe as I've got older, I've just become averse to risk. Like I think now I'm not going to risk it on the track. I'll just do it in the pits. As Nick Fuji in the Audi R8 picks up a 10-second penalty,
causing a collision. It says in the bottom right of your screen.
Yes. Naughty. I don't have much experience with Fuji, but I did crash into him at Imola because he rejoined Imola quite unsafely, and I went into him.
Most notably, though, none of the GT4s have pitted yet.
No, I think their pit window hasn't. Well, it should open just now. I think they get second half of the pit window after the 30-minute mark goes. So I think they cross the line with, it wasn't quite time to do it yet. Kraus is in the pits though, because they were further back. They were able to go in the pits as they're going to go 3 wide. And we jump away to the wrong time to Dutch Endurance
Apologies.
Team 23rd, but here we go. Yeah, Dutch Endurance Team make their way past the GT4 leaders, and Trinket just hanging on to the back of the QRTs.
I've had the pleasure of racing with and commentating with Trinket. I can guarantee you he is chomping at the bits to make the overtake, but I'm just thinking he's maybe got his sensible cap on, thinking, yeah, he's got 15 seconds, let's not risk it in these very variable and changeable and unoptimal conditions.
2 corners to go.
Yeah, he'll get
the pit
it.
stop.
Yeah. He'll get them
through Melbourne hairpin. And Trinket's going to still have a sneaking lead.
No, exactly. He wants that position, I know he does. But keep the sensible cap on.
As long as they don't repeat Pulse SimSport's mistake, though, although he's going to try and go up the inside of the pit lane, very close to the back of that Mercedes. In come the GT4s now. Van der Steeg from the lead, going to lose that lead with a 15-second test penalty. The TAS, by logic, will inherit that lead. Then Johnny Ashley has already managed to pit. They were further behind, so they pitted in earlier. So they're going to get an extra lap on wet tyres, whereas these two were on dry still. So we could see Johnny Ashley inherit the GT4 lead. Don't know yet. It's pulled up in the air. As I think that's Wood leaving the pits now. Car 44 just exiting the pit lane.
Right,
and that looks like it was ML.
It was. I'm just keeping an eye on Anthony Richards here, because there is a very real possibility that they'll jump Steg for what would be then P3. Just trying to work out numbers. It's going to be close. 45 seconds is what Steg has to stay in the pit lane for. Nope, never mind. My math is completely off. Steg is leaving his pit box.
Got a very confused Nintendo star in the chat. Diddy Kong is very confused about everything, what's going on, just a row of question marks. As Scott Ticehurst comes out for QRT Esports from Van der Steeg into second place. Page leading in the Ginetta, and then Stephen Bain, who's taken over from Johnny Ashley, is 4th in class.
So things
got Robson Manska in 4th in GT3, so
yeah, good old Rob Semenska in for Reinars, absolutely. I did try to get him onto commentary for the team for this championship, not realising he was driving. So good to see him out and about in that new Ferrari.
Go for the Gap Racing have inherited second place now, so it's Dutch Endurance Team leading Go for the Gap Racing, and it was a 12-second gap, and it's too blurry for me to read actually. I can't actually read. It's a 13-second gap now, so
yes.
Vanum is slowly pulling away from Rooney, but this would I think this would be Go for the Gap Racing's, well, it would match their best result. They're yet to have a win, but it will match their best result. They're always the bridesmaids and never the bride.
Oh, it's a shame. Oh, what's happening down here? Oh, 2 SimSport teams going at it, I believe.
It is, yeah.
Jacob might have just yielded there to the Miles Dixon car.
Don't think Grasmidor sort of would have expected to see the senior team down where he is.
I don't think
Obviously,
so.
they've taken 2 pit stops. And the Tango McLaren there, that's Redhead. Miles Dixon trying to get past Redhead, and Redhead's defending that position very nicely, actually. It was strict but fair. The number 9 McLaren just holding Miles Dixon up. Is he going to defend into Coppice? I don't think he is. I think he's realised that this is a battle he's not going to win, and he's going to lose time with that. Miles Dixon slices past up into 6th place and now sets off after Stevens in the Aston Martin.
It does indeed, so that will be a very good comeback drive. But that's been 10 minutes since their second pit stop to enforce the driver change. They're already up to 6. So, yeah.
As quick as Dixon is, there's not enough time for him to come back to the podium places, I don't think, unless he's helped by some of the podium sitters having spins.
I think 5th is definitely achievable. 4th, potentially. We'll keep an eye on his progress, no doubt.
Gap for the lead has come down a little, actually. That was 12 seconds. It grew to 13. Now it's down to 11 as Rooney is just cutting his way through the GT4 traffic, and that gap between the leaders is very much dependent on how much GT4 traffic they're having to clear. And again, I can't quite read it. What is the gap between Vanum and Rooney?
It is 12.7.
So it's holding station. Rooney and Vanum both very equally talented drivers in different machinery and sort of the pros and cons of the machine and how it suits the circuit and the conditions. But they're both phenomenally talented drivers, and I don't think 23 minutes is enough. He would have to catch at sort of a rate of half a second at least per lap.
Yeah, around Donington, with it being such quite a faster circuit, there is very few opportunities to make up the time with that. There isn't many very hard braking zones where you can, in comparison to the car ahead of you, gain any time or positional time. It's very much high speed, very flowing. If you're doing the same as the car in front through these high speed sections, then not that much opportunity as he goes drifting. Oh, Rooney.
Don't do that to me, Rooney. Rooney.
That was Rooney. That was definitely sending it for a bit of a bender there through.
He was, but he's got 2nd place at the moment. I know he's eager to catch that leader, but he needs to be careful not to throw away that 2nd place at the moment, because they'll come away. There's a 10-second gap to Ferris as
flag for
Alpine Esports, or the Royale team, I believe.
It's the Royale team, indeed it is, as they do keep going. It must be just a little bit off. No real damage, so I think it might have just been a little bit of an excursion to the grass and then nothing more.
Donington Park has a lot of runoff space. As did Nick Foodie just pick up another 10-second penalty? Did I just see that pop up?
No, it's always just it's always
that's the same one. I
thought
I'd seen it.
Yeah. So yeah, what's happening with Stevie Bain? They're staying on the tail of Anthony Richards here as well. This is the P3 in GT4 class.
And that is 7's Ferrari coming up behind as well.
Double 7 is... Where is double 7 actually? That's a good question. Double 7 is P3 in GT3, so I would be eager to get past these battling cars, but has to be patient if they are in their own little bit of a bit of fisticuffs as it stands.
Yeah, even though you're lapping, it's not slower traffic because they're slow, it's slower traffic because it's multi-class racing. Of course, Stephen Bain risking it all, putting wheels on the curbs on the grass, getting a little bit offline, and he needs to just be aware that the Ferrari is going to try and go past around the outside. They're side by side.
Stevie Bain's had a moment. There's damage on the front of that Ginetta.
There is. He's very late on the brakes, running around the outside of the double 7. And the Ferrari being made to look a little bit silly, as the Ginetta GT4 was keeping pace with him around the corner, around the outside where there is a substantially less grip off the racing line, off the dryer line.
No, absolutely.
Oh, that's Tango. That's Grasmeder who's gotten past the Tango team.
Yeah, it's happened a couple of laps ago, but the Tango has...
That was Miles Dixon getting past Tango. Now it's Grasmeder getting past Tango.
Yeah, Grasmeder made it. I said, yeah, made it past a couple of laps ago, but
no, that was Dixon.
Cool. All right, that was Dixon.
That was the big Pulse Sport SimSport team, and now it's the Pulse SimSport AM team going past them.
Oh, wonderful. Let's have a look.
The lead down to 10 seconds.
It is really making that gap a lot smaller.
So he is actually doing half a second a lap. If he keeps doing half a second a lap, he'll catch Van Oom on the final lap, but won't give himself any time to actually overtake.
He won't, but another battle we want to keep an eye on is the one that's just in the background from B. Rooney. This is the P1 battle for GT4.
It is between Page and Ticehurst Janetta. This is again British engineering versus German engineering, as Ticehurst looking up the inside. Page closes the door as they come through Coppice now. Wheel on the grass, be careful of that, Ticehurst.
Indeed, these cars don't work well as lawnmowers, guys. You know, you need to be steady. As Janetta's had a moment, he's going to lose out a bit of maybe a car length or two to Scott here, who will no doubt be encouraged by what he's seeing ahead of him.
Yeah, he's got a good run on him through the Fox S's though. Coming down to the Melbourne hairpin, is Page going to defend? Does a little bit, does chop across, but he's gone very deep. Very deep indeed. I don't think he's going to be able to get the run. He might be able to throw it up the inside and retain his lead, but I think Ticehurst has done it. Yes, he has. Oh, he's coming back at him. Ticehurst just moves across though and closes that door. Has he gone a little bit deep? No, he hasn't. So the lead for the GT4 class has changed. The Mercedes of Ticehurst takes the lead and Page is demoted to second place.
That's a change for the lead there for the GT4s. Scott, I think, to be quite happy with that, as he's already opened a gap of 1.2 seconds. Just in the last corner, in the first couple of corners, he's got that gap to maybe a bit more of a safer, more comfortable buffer straight away.
Richards is about 16 seconds back, and then Bain is less than 1.5 seconds behind Richards. So Bain would still get oNiD Racing onto the podium. Now, how is that gap between the leading pair? That was 10 seconds.
9.7.
It's coming down still, but not quick enough. He's going to be reliant on Van Oom making a mistake. And at the moment, they could be kicking themselves, because if Carter hadn't had that off, Rooney could be in a position to fight for that lead, because they did lose about 10 seconds with it.
They did indeed.
It was really challenging conditions. I don't blame any driver for losing it on a soaking wet track on slick tyres.
I wouldn't either. I wouldn't either. Speaking of weather update, we are now at a fully wet track.
And these wet weather tyres should be working at their best, as Brendan Rooney coming up to, I think that's Hearn. It's Hearn in the oNiD Racing 666, which has got like a West sponsorship at the moment. That is, and Hearn lets Rooney past very quickly, and now down to 9.1 seconds.
Back marker there. Oh, we've got a yellow flag. So we've got last place, sadly. The BMW finding off at the old hairpin, rejoins safely and continues and avoids any potential further embarrassment. Oh, I say he keeps going very, very drifty with that BMW.
Some drivers, if they come from other racing games, they can, like me, I can have a heavy right foot, and rather than sort of slowly easing the throttle down, I just sort of stop on it.
Yeah, it's understandable for sure. But,
I can see Rooney coming up, overtaking the McLaren GT4 there, and then cutting straight ahead.
Let's have a look. Yeah, Rooney.
All very well doing that, but you've just got to make sure the car you've passed doesn't miss their braking point and then plough into the back of you.
Yeah, that's the safest thing to do, just making sure that you can make the move safely, especially with the pace difference between the two cars.
As Turk just moving over and letting Rooney go around the outside quite easily. And now that was so that was 9.1 seconds between Van Oom and Rooney. Is it going to be into the 8-second round? It's 8.1. He's taken an entire second out of Van Oom in that one lap. So at this rate, Rooney could catch Van Oom with a couple laps to go.
He needs to continuously be taking that chunk of time out of the leader. That's his only hope.
There was a bit of I think there was a little bit of a second guess of which way you're going, and Rooney chose correctly, just a bit of a last minute darting out of the way there. But and here's Van Oom in the Lamborghini. If it depends if he's looking at that split, and if it starts coming down quickly, it could start to pressure Van Oom, and he could be pressured into a mistake as Waggy Racing moves over for Danny Van Oom. Very nice to see. But Van Oom needs to get a bit of a move on. There's 15 minutes left to go now.
Sorry,
he needs to just build buffer as Miles Dixon. Yeah, talk us through it.
Sorry, Miles Dixon trying to make a move up the inside of Dan Stevens in that wonderful V8, V6 Aston. He's going to look up the inside, the old hairpin. That's a very sketchy late dive there, but thinks better of it. They've now got GT4 traffic up ahead of them, so they'll need to try and have their battle and also try and get past the GT4 as well as that Camaro, which they have successfully done. Ferrari looking mighty twitchy with his rear end looking a lot more happier and excitable than a very satisfied dog there.
Nearly goes into the back.
Nearly does, and gets a late braking, but somehow gets a drive out the corner.
Look like it's a lot more grip. Maybe it's just a lot more downforce on that setup, or Miles Dixon just driving that car really hard, sort of really dancing on the edge of adhesion, whereas Stevens driving well within the car's limits of grip.
Quite potentially, they're both going to get past this Ginetta. The Aston's not been dropped yet. It has only been a couple of corners.
That's not just any Ginetta. That's a Stevie Bain.
That's the Stevie Bain. Well, the Aston hasn't exactly been dropped by the Ferrari. I know it's only been a few corners, but actually, I say that there's the gap forming now. And I think that Miles Dixon Pulsing Support Ferrari is going to be rather comfortable with the 1.2 second gap he now has over Dan Stevens.
Well, next up, it might be a slightly more difficult driver to overtake, Robson Manska, in fourth place, 10 seconds up the road. And the gap between Van Oom and Rooney, it's holding at about 8 seconds. So whether Van Oom's responded or there's been traffic holding up Rooney, we don't know quite yet. Ticehurst still leading away in the GT4 class. Page is still second, but it's going to have Richards and Bain bearing down on them soon. And here is your GT4 leader. QRT Esports has got Ticehurst in the AMG GT4, just under 13 minutes left from home.
This will be a very wonderful performance from the QRT Esports team here. They did serve their penalty for what was the penalty? Sorry, words are failing me today.
And this would take the lead of the championship.
It will, absolutely.
Blurred Vision is Samuel Page is Blurred Vision, and this is QRT Esports 2, and there's only 1 point between them. So this would put QRT Esports 2 into the lead of the championship, going into the final round of the championship.
Indeed, I will rephrase myself. The success penalties that QRT Esports hasn't really hindered them as such, but has, rightly so, brought them back down to the pace of the other cars. But nonetheless, this is a very dominant performance. Let's check in with the GT3s. Everything's holding station at the minute. Still not really made any improvements per se.
7.6 seconds, so he's brought it down another half second.
It's just not enough. He needs so much more.
Running out of time, unfortunately. He doesn't have the fastest lap. That's still Miles Dixon's, but of course they were on a dry circuit earlier. Much easier to get a fastest lap. And Rooney went a little bit. I thought we went a little bit deep in there.
It did look like it. I thought it was going to spin. I definitely
did worry about it there, but.
Yeah, as did I. That rear looked very slidey when they went through the last corner. And you know what's fantastic? Someone else has subscribed to the channel, but your name is all in Chinese. I cannot read Chinese, but it's a pleasure to have you nonetheless. Thank you very much for dropping by.
And Dan Hyde has just asked if I'm having fun, and yes, it's fun. Oh, the gap now 6.9 seconds.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a shame it's coming down at a steady pace, but with 10 minutes to go, he'd have to do a couple seconds a lap now, and it's just not possible. Van Oom is too good a driver to drop that much time. He can cruise now.
Yeah, Rooney really needed the gap to be 7 seconds about 5 minutes ago to make it work. They are now technically in the same straight, and they can get a glimpse of the car up ahead of them, but yeah, they needed this gap to be at this point, as I said, with another 5 minutes in hand, really.
Unless Van Oom sort of gets a bit spooked by that gap coming down and just makes a mistake or trips over a GT4 car, it does seem like we're going to have our first non-Pulse SimSport winner of the GT Team World Cup.
Indeed. Most notably, Anthony Richard making a move for the has made the move, should I say, for P2 in the GT4s, beating Samuel Page through, I believe, was the final turn on the previous lap. Hold on, that's a Camaro. How? I seriously have questions how that Camaro is doing so good. It's a bulky car, but look at it go, it's amazing.
I think with that weight over the front wheels, it's maybe a car that they can set up quite nicely for understeer. It's a big heavy car, whereas the Ginetta is a much lighter car.
You think the lighter would be better though? That's a very interesting observation, isn't it? A much more heavier, bulkier car gets the better of a car. It's supposed to be a little bit lighter, and that's Sam Page in the background trying to get past these guys. Is that Sam Page? That's one of the Pulse Sports teams. Makes some move, works safely. Car 54, that is Grassmeder. Grassmeder? Said that right, didn't I?
I think you did, yeah. I think I've got to talk a bit louder. I think the audio levels, just getting a couple of comments in Discord that the levels, they can't quite hear me very well over the sound of the action compared to you. I think it's because I've got not quite a deeper voice as you, but yeah, Anthony Richards in second place in the Camaro at the moment, under 10 minutes to go. It's only 8.5 left on the clock. Ticehurst just has to keep it facing the right way. He's got, I'm just trying to see, we can't actually see the split between Ticehurst and Richards.
Sadly not, but...
No, oh, there it is, 13.6 seconds. And how is the gap between our leading pair? Is that under, I wonder if it's 5 seconds now.
No, sadly not. It is 6 seconds. 6 seconds.
And has there been an off there? The Alpine just returning to the track there. I wonder if Rooney had a moment as well, but it's 5.5 seconds. But he's pushing too hard now, I'd have to say, Rooney. Calm down now. You can't win this.
It's not enough, I don't think he's going to be able to get realistically.
I don't know if you can hear me, and I almost want to jump into the team chat and say just bring it home for second place now, as we've got, that was a Trinket to Tass off the track. Well, not Trinket to Tass, that would be Trinket to Tass's teammate.
I'm trying to catch who that was. That was
Oh, they've got going again.
They've got going. That's not them. They might have just.
That's a stretch. Yeah, Royal SimSports have returned to the pit lane.
I wonder what that is. Oh, random. Greg Prescott in P9 trying to close the gap. Nothing happening. There's not much happening, sadly. Only closing past the parts of the race. Oh, hello. There is something happening.
There's always something happening. You can't say nothing. Not much is happening.
There's always something happening, guys, of course. And that something is Messi Reynolds trying to get Remco Torn 14th and 13th respectively, trying to have a battle here for best of the rest. GT3s pretty much.
Yes, this is the minnows down in the lower ranks of the GT3 category. We've got Torn, Reynolds and Timmermans. That's BMW in the GT4. That's Turk just in front, who needs to just make sure these GT3s can get past safely. He does. And Miles Dixon has closed the gap to that third place, but still 7.5 seconds back. 6 minutes to go. I don't think Pulse SimSport are going to be on the podium.
No.
As Torn moves across on Reynolds, defending into Melbourne hairpin. Reynolds is trying and get the cut back. He's got the cut back, he's got the lead, he's got the position. Torn very slow out of that corner there. I don't know if he got a lot of wheel spin or got the wrong gear, but yeah. Oh, and Stevie Bain has picked up a 5-second penalty as Torn just absolutely sliding it round, and Rooney is 3 seconds.
Oh, what's
3
happened
seconds
there?
between Vanu.
Hello.
That has really come down. Have these cars that Rooney is dealing with now really held Vanoom up? So 5 seconds to go. So 5 minutes to go. 3 seconds is the gap. We could have a race on. This Tango car, if the Tango car doesn't let Vanoom through quickly, we could have a race on. In these last 5 minutes, if Vanoom makes one mistake, they could lose the lead. Blue flags are out, and Rooney, likewise, makes one mistake. His chance of the win is gone. This will be a great comeback drive. Both of these teams yet to see the checkered flag first. It's always gone to Pulse SimSport. So both of these teams want it more than anything. Now it's under 3 seconds. Now it's 2.7 seconds. It is coming down and down. Rooney, a bit of a wet weather master, making it work. And Vanoom's just going to catch these two at the wrong time, maybe as they come through Coppice. And these two are just trying to deal with each other. Nah, I don't think Vanoom's going to lose time there. 2.7 seconds as they come down towards the Melbourne hairpin. We'll find out what the split is. It's 2 seconds. That is coming down rapidly. Rooney is absolutely working miracles. But it just depends when they start the last lap.
Oh, it's gotta be...
Rooney will be hoping for sort of, to cross the line and then the time run out. It all depends, because ideally you want to do one less lap, don't you? But Rooney will be pushing to make sure Vanoom has to do one more lap.
Rooney has made it past the black markers, so this is going to be a battle to
I think we better stick with these two, because
absolutely
now it's 1.2 seconds. How has Brendan done this? This is absolutely incredible driving, and Vanoom's got off! Vanoom's got off slightly. That's going to cost him. So now it's going to be well under a second, and Rooney's going to start getting the slipstream, but also start getting into the dirty air of the Lamborghini.
That Lamborghini will punch a big old hole in the air, and they both go very wide, and Rooney goes even wider.
And Rooney's kept it.
He's a lucky boy.
The right way. He's very lucky, but that's going to take the pressure off Vanoom. That gap of 0.8 is now going to be outdated as Rooney goes off again, and Rooney just needs to calm it down. He was on the attack. The pressure isn't on him. The pressure is on Vanoom, who has seen that gap come down from 13 seconds to less than 1 second, and Vanoom's just trying to put more traffic between himself and Rooney. Yeah, that gap now back up to 2.3.
That's such a shame. That could have been the last lap battle we were hoping to see. I'm going to quickly jump.
Still be.
I'm going to quickly, sorry to interrupt. I'm going to quickly jump down to Miles Dixon, trying to get back onto the podium here. Chris Ferris defending for his life. It's going to work.
He's got the cutback, yeah, through the old hairpin. Miles Dixon also performing major miracles after taking an extra pit stop. Now up into the podium places. So we will see a Pulse SimSport car on the podium.
That's move done.
But we better check with Rooney again. That's back under 2 seconds, so Rooney is catching once again. Vanoom's just had to deal with Ticehurst in the QRT Esports car, and now Ticehurst is going to be well aware that there's another GT3 car on its way. You can't quite miss an orange car, and you can't quite miss a bright reddy pink car, can you?
No, not at all. This will be the penultimate lap as Rooney darting left and right to get past that slower GT4 car. Gets the move done. Who's that going slowly?
That's Dimech. I think that's Dimech. Sorry, Grasmida.
Grasmida dropping like a stone.
I think he's just desperate to let these the leaders through, and inadvertently just had to go very slowly to make sure he stayed out of trouble. But I don't think Rooney's going to be able to do it. It would take a miracle or Van to have a very unfortunate, but it can happen. Sort of the Canadian Grand Prix 2012, was it, when Vettel lost it on the last lap at Montreal in the wet, and then Button overtook him.
That's 11 years ago.
That was so long ago. Yeah, it's 2.5. It's 2.5 seconds now, and Rooney is just so close. Are they going to get one more lap?
They will get one more lap.
Yeah, they're going to get one more lap. Rooney has one more lap to do it. Van just has to hold on for one more lap.
Van race to lose. Yeah, Van race to lose pretty much. If he makes a mistake, it's gone.
It very much is, and look how much traffic there is in front of them. If one of those cars just makes a mistake and gets it wrong in how they let the leaders through, it could drastically change the result of this race. There's a Camaro, there's a McLaren as well that is torn. That is torn in 14th place. He's going to have to let Van by. Gap down to 1.3 seconds now, down from 2 seconds. Rooney's pushing very high, he's pushing too hard. He's kept it pointing forward. Van past the Camaro. Now Rooney's got to get past the Camaro.
He hasn't been able to do it.
Rooney's being held up a little bit. He's trying to slice past. Now he's able to do it in the first part of Coppice, coming into the second part. But Van hasn't cleared the McLaren.
He'll clear it on the straight. This will be an easy... He still hasn't cleared it.
No, he hasn't. They're both GT3 cars.
It's flashing his lights.
I don't think there's 2 corners left. There's the Fogarty S's, there's the Melbourne hairpin, and then there is the final corner, Goddard's. I don't think Rooney can do it, as Van puts a GT3 car between them, and the Audi R8 just making sure they're well out of and having a spin whilst they're at it. But Van is going to hold on by the skin of his teeth unless he messes it up at this final corner at Goddard's. He doesn't. Rooney is out of time. He was catching, but it is going to be Danny Van who takes victory here at Donington Park. Brendan Rooney finishes only 1.1 seconds behind. It kills me to think what could have happened, but that is GT3 racing, and Miles Dixon will be coming over the line shortly. Here he is. He's still down the back straight. This is how far the leaders have gotten ahead.
What a wonderful result from Miles, though. Fantastic recovery drive from what has been a torrid race session for the Pulse SimSport team.
Down into the Melbourne hairpin for the final time, and we've neglected that GT4 winner has already crossed the line. Richards takes a victory in the GT4 class ahead of Ticehurst, and then Stevie Bain, even with his 5-second penalty, is going to be on that GT4 podium. As the smoke bombs are released in the crowd, Miles comes across the line. He is on the podium, and Richards wins GT4 class ahead of Ticehurst, with Bain in 3rd.
Can we breathe now? That was... I
had skin in the game. How do you think I felt?
I mean, it's a very, very... I don't know how to put it. It was... Oh my god. It was down to the wire. It could have been an absolutely nail-biting finish. But yes, just as Badim Habibovic has stated, Chevy wins in the GT4s. That is what a result for them.
Does indeed. Thank you very much, everybody.
Oh, we might have just lost my internet there.
Kyle Army. But thank you very much for joining us. The 10 of you have stayed here. That is the session over, as it says. Session has ended. I've been Cammy Sturch, and he's been Aidan Howard.
We do apologise there, because we just did lose my internet there for a second, and the game did freeze. But we are back, and indeed we'll definitely say just to be safe. I think the stream caught our goodbyes. But Cammy, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much for your company tonight.
Thank you very much, and see you next week.
Indeed. Until then, guys, take care. This is Aidan and Cammy signing off.